How you doing? I'm Artie from Rockaway's Handyman. I wanted to take things into the shop for a little bit, give you a little different view than what we do in the classroom. So for the DIY this week, I'm going to give you a little field show. I did an article recently on making new chair cushions. I have a customer, chair was obviously broken, so we got to make new bases and re-cushion. So we're going to do a walkthrough today on how to actually do this. Okay, so we have here a 1/2-inch piece of plywood, and we already did our outline, but I'm going to show you how to do it anyway. 1/2-inch plywood makes a good base for a standard seat. If you got a large seat, you might have to go a little heavier than a 1/2 inch. What you do is you lay the cushion up in place, and with a regular Sharpie marker, just do an outline. As you see, our outlines are already together. Then we're going to cut out the section with the outlines, and then we're going to take a jigsaw and go ahead and cut the actual seating. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a circular saw, we're just going to cut this whole section off, and then we're going to cut these squares off before we cut it out with the jigsaw. So let's get started. As you see, we cut them out into squares, so we're ready to cut out our outlines. What we're going to do is we're going to use the jigsaw. That cuts perfect along the edges. But first we got to secure our work. We're going to use clamps to clamp it down to the workbench. Sometimes you got to maneuver the clamps a little bit, get them how you need them. Make sure you get a secure grip. Okay, so that's nice and secure. Now that we got it secure, we can go ahead and take the jigsaw. You're going to just start at an edge and work your way into the curve. We're going to have to obviously turn the wood and reclamp it as we go. So just to show you how to get started. Notice I waited for the saw to fully stop before taking it out. Taking our clamps off just to switch things around and to show you where we're at. Now this cut just comes in and brings us right into our curve for the chair. As you see, the wood moves a little bit. We're going to reclamp this in another position so we can follow the curve around. The type of clamps you use is not that major. It's more important that they're nice and secure. Different clamps work for different situations. I'm going to lay it into the line where I cut, and then I'm going to start working it back into the groove. I'm making sure that it's pretty free flowing where it is so I don't lock up the blade. There we have it. Let's take it off and show where we got to. Now our cut follows it all the way around to the edge. So we're going to reclamp it and work our way around. Now we got our seat base cut all the way around. Next we're going to take it over to the sander. Alright, now that we got our pieces cut, we're going to sand all the edges. When I sand the edges, I want to sand them smooth this way. I want to sand the edges this on an angle a little bit. I want to make sure there's nothing to cut into the material or to cause a problem later. I want to make sure this is done once and the customer's happy with it for a long time to come. So let's show you a little bit of sanding. Now this edge is nice and smooth. I can run my hand across it. I beveled the edge so I can run my hand on there, on either side. There's no concern. I just did a small area. Off camera, I'm going to finish this up. We got 2 of these made. Give me a few minutes and I'll be back on to show you how to put the fabric on and set up the foam. I just finished sanding our second piece. You may not have a bench sander like this. A orbital sander, you can even sand it by hand if needed. As long as you sand all your edges. Now I got the edges on both all ready. We're ready for foam. This is the material we're going to be using for the seat. This material is good because it's very water resistant, and these seats are going to be in a kitchen, so we want to make sure something spills on them and don't get damaged. Also, the foam we're using, we're going the extra step, and it's a water resistant foam. Oops, I dropped my fabric. It's a water resistant foam, so it's not going to absorb the water. So let's show you how we're going to do this. Same way we did with the foam. We're going to lay our fabric out, lay our seat base on, and we're going to do the outline with the marker. Let's move our seat base out of the way, lay this foam up so it's a little bit easier to work with. Now, same thing, but the only difference is we got to put this on the seat, so we got to have room to wrap it around. Notice how it's marked like 3 inches in. That's going to allow us area to pull over. When we cut it, we don't want to cut it across the line. We want to keep that cut at least about 3 inches out. No less. You don't want to go under 3 inches, because if you go under 3 inches, you're going to run into a problem where you don't have enough to pull. So we're going to shift our fabric as needed, follow that cut around. As you see, I'm not even going to cut here. I'll trim that later. We already cut one piece. I'm going to show you how to do the next piece of foam. Just like we did with the plywood, but this time we're laying the seat base that we made on. We're going to keep it to the edge to make one cut a little easier, give us a starting point. Taking the marker, marking it. Notice I'm holding a marker on an angle to keep it tight to the wood. So you see the angle here. If I go this way, the marker actually is going to take it out about 1/4 of an inch, depending on the marker you use. So to keep it tight, you want to use like 30-degree angle from the wood. There we go. Now we got our outline. That's a basic outline. And very simply take a scissor and cut along the outline. One of the things is you always want to keep your work area clean. So obviously I'm in the shop, I got everything right here. So you want to take a brush everything down. If you're working at home, in the garage or something, same thing. Keep a small broom around. You can get a cheap broom at a dollar store. You got a little dustpan and broom set up. Get a small broom, brush everything down as you go. Because you're going to be laying your fabric around, and you want to make sure everything's nice and clean. You want to make sure you don't get all kinds of dust inside the foam and all over the fabric as you're working. And you want to give the customer, or give you, in my case it's the customer, your case you want to give yourself a nice final product. Okay, so as G's pushing down on it, I'm going to pull the material tight. Give it a couple of staples just to hold it. I'm going to try not to shift the material, shift it, because I don't want to loosen up everything the way I got it. So G's going to hold it right near where I'm working. If you notice, he moves around with it. And then you take up the edges, pull up the corner, get a staple in there, and then you got to follow the fabric around as needed. It's going to change as you go. Some areas will need it a little more than others. So you do what's necessary and get your corners in. I'm pulling it tight. I'm folding it over a little bit as I pull it, just to help with the excess and make the corners. Okay, so we stapled it around. We have our cushion all set up. One extra step I'm going to take. I'm actually going to take a hammer, because sometimes staples don't go all the way flush. Just give them a little tap, nothing major. Don't got to beat on them, just to make sure any edges that are not flush is down. And there you have it. This is ready to be mounted to the chair. I hope this helped you with any future projects you got for recovering chairs, or if you got to make the seat part yourself. Watch, we'll put more shop work on as time goes on. Also, don't forget to watch my DIYer classes. They're going to be uploaded every other week, and there's a lot to learn with that. We're working on all the basics, and then we're going to start doing some nice projects. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something today. Remember, we will be uploading a new video every other week. We will be advancing on what we learned today, and we will take on new projects. Once again, thank you for joining us.